So I was going to ask you
Yeah.
what your light bulb moment was, or what your penny dropping moment was for sustainability.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I do remember going to the supermarket in Edinburgh where I was living and just not wanting to buy anything because all the fruit and veggies were wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, right.
And then I moved to live in Bangladesh and Nepal,
Yeah.
and that was a pretty amazing experience. And there they don't have like a rubbish collection, centralised rubbish collection, and they have moved really quickly from having no plastic to having plastic
Everything.
convenient stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's nowhere to put the rubbish, so it just ends up on the street,
Yeah.
and then it ends up washed into the rivers, and you're really confronted by plastic rubbish. And I realised that in New Zealand and other countries like New Zealand, we produce so much more rubbish than they do, but because it's taken away every
Disappears.
2 weeks, a week, or whatever,
Yeah.
it's just gone. You just don't see it. And so we never have to be confronted by how much rubbish we produce.
Yeah.
And that made me think that there's got to be something else. And at that time, there were a few people around the world who were doing single-use plastic-free lives.
So when was this?
This
How long
was
ago was this?
2009.
Right.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
When it was hard to be plastic free.
It was really hard because you couldn't find the stuff.
Yeah.
So
it didn't exist.
It's because it hardly existed. Yeah, so it's not like now you can go to the supermarket and you can get a bamboo toothbrush and you can get shampoo
Paper
bars
straws.
and paper straws or no straws.
Yeah.
And everyone has their reusable bags because
they
they're
have to.
banned.
Yeah. Yep.
So now we're like,
Come a long way.
we have come a long way in that time. So then, coming back to New Zealand, I decided that it'd be really good if we could get all of these things together. And then I kind of accidentally set up the Rubbish Whisperer.
Oh, as you do. Start a business.
Accidentally start a business. To bring all these things together so that it was, a shop.
Yeah.
And then I did some stuff doing talks about educating people on single-use plastics. And started making reusable produce bags. So this was when you had to explain to people why they might want to use a reusable bag, not a plastic bag that was free at the supermarket. And then I did that for a while. I walked around New Zealand in 2016 trying to sell people paper straws, cafes and bars paper straws, and encourage straws on request. And was rejected a lot. People were like, I don't see why I would need that.
Yeah.
And then the turtle video came out.
Yeah.
And then everyone wanted paper straws.
So interesting.
So, yeah, and then kind of did that until 2020 something.
Until you met me.
Until I met you. Yeah. So
Well, not that I put a stop to it. But...
yeah. So then you came along.
Yeah.
And so you can take over your story now.
Okay, so back to where I began.
Yeah.
So my penny dropping moment was having a child and feeling this instant guilt, which seems to be a pattern here. I feel guilty. Having this instant guilt for this huge amount of waste that another person, like bringing another person into the world, has all of that waste associated with it, especially babies, because they've got like nappies and all of the things. And so instantly felt really responsible for doing what I could to reduce that. And being at home with a baby all day, every day, I was able to like look around the house and be like, okay, I can actually step back from things and think about it.
Need a project to occupy your mind.
Pretty much need some kind of stimulation that's not just pure lack of sleep.
Yeah.
And so I started swapping things out when they ran out. So ran out of this thing, would find a more sustainable option. And then when I was on maternity leave, I was also able to step back from the work that I was doing, which didn't align at all with my values. I worked in retail in a shop that just had heaps of waste. And so I thought I would get in touch with people that were doing things that I wanted to be involved with and kind of like use the opportunity of not having to work a full-time job to try and find a new way.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
New opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got in touch with lots of small businesses and ended up doing bits and pieces of work, and the Rubbish Whisperer was one of them.
Yes.
And so then I started working with you, and we got on like a house on fire. So I worked for you for like three years?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then you came up with this crazy water balloon idea.
I remember the day that I came to you and I was like,
No,
can we do something about this?
I was like, yep.
Yes.
Let's do it. So trying to replace single-use water balloons. And then, so we tried to do reusable water balloons, making them in New Zealand and doing all the stuff, but we just couldn't scale it up.
Yeah.
So we put it aside for a while and carried on with the Rubbish Whisperer.
Yep.
And you carried on with...
I started Remix. So while I was working with you, providing reusable products for people, I could see that there was a gap between people that wanted them and people finding them.
Yep.
And so I set up my business Remix Plastic to kind of run alongside to bridge that, to help educate people that were wanting to make sustainable changes but didn't know where to start, and then I could point them in the direction of your stuff and connect them with other different local organisations. And so then that was running alongside the Rubbish Whisperer for a bit, and it nicely complemented it. And then my goal with Remix, well, the way that I was talking to people about sustainability was through plastic recycling, and I make recycled plastic accessories, which I'm not wearing any of at the moment. And then Jacinda Ardern wore some of my Hoya feather earrings, and it all went crazy for a bit there, and then the tables turned and you started working for me.
Yeah, I did, because the world had caught up with the Rubbish Whisperer.
Yeah.
And there were lots of people doing all the same stuff, and you could get reusable produce bags pretty much lots of places, and it was gone sort of mainstream. And then around that time, I can't remember, when did the New Zealand plastic bag ban come in?
2019, I think.
Yeah, so it felt like
a big shift.
Yeah, there had been a really big shift. So the Rubbish Whisperer had sort of done its job.
Yep, pretty massive to have done all of that.
Yeah.
It started like proper sustainable change for it to then become mainstream.
Yeah, that's. I don't really know what to say. I mean, there's a lot of factors, a lot of people, a lot of people involved in that.
Yeah.
And it all ends up with a government. The plastic bag ban, and
that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, good. We can all move on.
And I think that then adds people perceived value, I guess, to bigger companies in sustainability. They can say, oh, well, this is actually a thing. We need to be providing more sustainable options. So then the bigger companies, when you were just supplying everybody that was interested, once it steps up to that point. And
so
then I got to be boss lady for a bit.
You got to be boss.
Not that I was like bossing anybody around, because I was essentially like, Helen, what should I do? And you were like, okay, we should do this, this and this. Like, okay, thanks. Run away again. So we spent 6 months making Hoya feather earrings. And then off the back of that, the money that we made in that big whirlwind of a year was then able to seed fund EcoSplat, sustained fund. Yeah.
So then we knew there would be more toys, but we weren't sure what they were. So we started
we'd start with one solid idea, because we both have a tendency to want to do all of the things all of the time.
Of course we do. Yeah. So there's EcoSplat reusable water balloons, and now we have sustained fund, and we have 4 products.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yay.
Is that a good origin story?
I think so. There's so many things that you can talk about, isn't there? Because I didn't even talk about like all of my marine science background that I've managed to bring into.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we're quite good at, if I say so myself, is taking science and making it accessible through play and through other things. And all of our products are basically grounded in scientific research done by real scientists.
We are quite nerdy.
Who didn't just do their bachelor's and then go off and make toy companies.
Yeah. We take what all of those smart people are saying and we cleverly convert it into something that's fun and playful and that's not statistics and graphs. We think it's fun. We think it's great.
And we're very happy for all the science doing real research science that we can then put into toys.
Yeah. Yeah, big fan of science.
I don't know how to add to that. I think we should end it now.
Okay. And the end.
Goodbye.